What's up, G-Show Land, and welcome to another episode of the Godzilla Block Party. I am your host, G1, and I am joined by an all-star panel once again. Of course, joining me is G95. What's up, brother?
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, and of course, joining me once again, I think this is your fifth time, is Megalon, a.k.a. Chase.
How's it going, guys?
That's right. And joining us for the first time, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead, Mr. Matt, introduce yourself and tell us what you what page you run.
Hey guys, my name is Matthew. I run a Facebook page called Fusion Fall Die Kaiju. It's good to be here.
Perfect. We got him on the show. This is what we do. We get everybody on the show, let them voice their opinions, and we talk about Godzilla. But before we talk about Godzilla, this is a block party, and as I've stated before in the previous podcast, it's not just Godzilla, it's giant monsters in general. And the biggest news of this week, because we will get to Godzilla in a minute, but the biggest news of this week happens to be the news from Pacific Rim 2 that it's about to start filming, but that John Boyega, you guys might know him as Finn from the latest Star Wars movie, I know him from Attack the Block, is set to star, and he's playing, wow, I forgot his name all of a sudden. Help me out here, guys.
John Boyega.
John Boyega is playing, wow.
Yeah, he's playing Stacker Pentecost's son.
That's right. I was looking for the actor's name, but you get points, Matt. Thank you very much. Idris Elba. Slipped my mind. Had a long day, ladies and gentlemen. It's been crazy. Yes, he's playing Idris Elba's son in Pacific Rim 2. Now, the crazy thing is, his production company, John Boyega, who is about anywhere between 25 to 27 years old, his production company is going in co-producing on this movie. That's huge. So you know this kid's going to have a big starring role, of course, because he's playing the son. I'm going to start with you, G95. What do you think about this, and how do you feel it's going to benefit Pacific Rim 2? Mine is Guillermo del Toro.
Well, it's just really exciting that Pacific Rim 2 is back on track. You know, it's not on indefinite hold anymore, and we've got a really big name attached to it right now, and that's definitely going to draw in more people, I think. You know, people are like, oh shit, Finn's in this movie. We should go check it out. The first one was pretty cool. So I think, you know, anything to help get the movie bigger and better box office numbers.
I agree. Matt, you're new here. I'm going to go to you right now. How do you feel about John Boyega joining the cast? And just that we know that Pacific Rim 2 is coming. It's happening. How do you feel? Matt?
Oh, I thought you meant Chase.
No, that's all
right. So it's a pretty good surprise for two things. First of all, because I really like the character of Finn. That probably has to be the most comic relief I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie, and I just liked his character and he was there. And second of all, the fact that now we know Pacific Rim 2 is happening, because there was all this controversy about, oh, it's not happening, but now it is, but now it's not again. So now we got good confirmation. And that one post with Guillermo del Toro saying how shooting starts soon. So we pretty much got a good idea that it's not dead. And yeah, I can't think of anybody else that can play Stacker's son. So even though I would more like to see a prequel than a sequel.
I agree. I've been advocating on my G-Show page for the longest time. Give me a Cherno Alpha prequel. If not in animated form, I take it. Chase, my man Megalon, what about you? What do you think about it? What do you think about production starting in the fourth quarter of this year?
I totally forgot about Pacific Rim 2. The last I saw of it was when GT said on his Twitter the movie is still going, but I kind of just killed that hype, and I didn't go back on it. But it was a very enlightening surprise when on my news feed it said, hey, John Boyega to play lead role in Pacific Rim 2. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. And when they said he's going to play the son of Idris Elba's character, I was like, oh, cool. So they are just going to continue with after the stories. So that means they will reference, or hopefully reference, the characters in the past film, or maybe bring in the characters from the past film in this movie too. So, and because that was also one of the talks of Pacific Rim 2, was it going to have the original cast, or was it going to be a new cast for a whole new movie? So that's cool news for me because I like the first one too.
No, I do too. I actually just finished watching it. We got some echo, which ain't bad. It's like it's G Show 2. Anyhow, let me just move it. One of you guys. All right, the echo's gone. Yeah. So yeah, I love it. I think it's stellar casting. I love John Boyega. I've loved him since before Star Wars because I've seen Attack the Block, and that kid has a presence. It's a great film. If you guys haven't seen it, I absolutely recommend that movie. And then, of course, Star Wars. I was blown away that he was in it. I was like, oh, dope, John Boyega. I know that guy. I was hoping he might be maybe Black Panther before he got the Star Wars role. But, of course, I like who Black Panther is now. That being said, him playing Idris Elba's son in Pacific Rim 2, I think, is genius. I love, like you said, Chase, them continuing that storyline. To me, he is the biggest name in Pacific Rim since Idris Elba, because let's be for real here, no offense to Charlie Hunnam or any of the other guys, but John Boyega is now a breakout star because of Star Wars. And to have that quality, that star power in this movie, a movie that we thought, like you said, a couple of months ago, we didn't know it was going to get made. It just brings everything together and makes it so much bigger. And just now the hype is real, the anticipation is there, and it's like, where do we go from there? And it's still under Legendary somewhat, and, you know, maybe down the line, who knows? Maybe there's a crossover with our favorite giant monster, the American version. I'd buy it. I'm with it. Who knows? But yeah, that was the big news of the week. And like I said, man, this is the block party, so we had to give a nod to that one. But it is a Godzilla podcast, and it is time to talk Godzilla. Because G95 has some things he has to do, so he might not be here for the whole podcast. Let's get it going right now. This week, the Tokyo Toy Fair has been dropping the utmost insane amounts of Godzilla product. I love having Chase, a.k.a. Megalon, here with us because my man is like the go-getter. He gets all the information. So I'm going to start with him and to let us know what was some of the best things of this Tokyo Toy Fair and some of those Godzilla things that was like, yeah, okay. Chase, take it away, brother.
To be honest, my favorite thing that I saw was the Godzilla boxer shorts. I thought those ass warmers were cool. But, you know, it was funny because, you know, I stormed Twitter, and about 10 minutes before I found all this, before it started hitting Facebook, there was nothing, no post at all. So when I saw that, I started getting overwhelmed with everything coming out. It was one thing after another. And so I started freaking out there, and I got overly excited. And those bobblehead Godzilla things that were shaking the sign, and, you know, watch out, sorry about that. The Shin Gojira SH Monster Arts figure. But my favorite thing that was shown was the SH Monster Arts 1989 figure. That thing stole the cake for me with the sound, the music, the lights, everything. And it was also cool at the Toy Fair what they showed when they showed Godzilla 2000 on stage with, is it Higuchi? Is it Anno? I get them mixed up. But the director, I don't know if any. One of you guys give me his name?
Of Shin Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shin Godzilla.
I don't know the other one's name.
It's like Anno Hideko or something like that. But that was kind of cool. Just seeing that the Godzilla 2000 suit is still alive and intact and not destroyed like the rest of them kind of just makes me excited because, I mean, it will never happen, but maybe one day we'll see Godzilla 2000.
So Let me run over to. Let me see, Matt. Let me ask you, man. How did you feel? What was some of the standouts of the Tokyo Toy Fair, in regards to everything Chase just said?
Well, first I want to say, what a time to be alive for a Godzilla fan, right? We had 2014, and now we've got 2016 back to back, which has never happened before. And now we got all this merchandise coming out, and the cross promotion with Evangelion is like probably the best thing that they probably could have thought up with, because people are now going crazy over it. And people in the beginning were just kind of giving the movie crap because of not that much of seeing it. Now, ever since this collaboration, everyone's going crazy for it in a good way. Not really a big fan of that EVA color Godzilla SH Monster Arts. I mean, I could do without that. I understand why they did it, but I just don't like really colorful figures like that. The 89 figures, definitely, I'm going to get that when I get the money. SH Monster Arts Shin Gojira, definitely going to get that as well. I like all the little knick-knack things they had, like the Hungry Hippo Godzilla that they had there.
Which is a dentist game, actually. You touch its teeth and it bites you if you hurt him.
Well, when I saw that, my first thought was Hungry Hippos. So
yeah, so was my other friend.
And there was a lot of cool stuff there, and yeah.
G95, your thoughts?
My mind keeps going to, if I was a, I don't know, like 20-pound center, I would rock the shit out of those undies. No, I'm just really excited about all the new Monster Art stuff. Even if I can't afford it, it's still cool to see it. Like, I know it'll be at my local comic book store and stuff, and maybe since I got this new job, maybe I'll splurge a little and pick up the Shin Gojira one. I
think we all deserve it.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, no,
it's just cool to see that they're putting so much like product marketing behind Shin Gojira. Too. Yeah, such a really wide variety. You know, like Toho has a lot of faith in this movie, but apparently not enough faith to give us another trailer or anything. You know, any promotion for the actual movie, not just merchandise promotion.
I love that you said that. You totally stole my segue because that's where I was going next. Exactly that. I love the figures. I love the SH Monster Arts figures. I am definitely getting that Biollante figure. That Biogaji is mine. The Shin Goji figure also, I love the detail on it. Even the Bandai figure that earlier this week they showed that's been floating around. I like the detail in that, but you know, there's the SH Monster Arts. The detail on those figures are always incredible. So I was loving it that you can, I was trying to zoom in when I had a chance. This week has been hectic, but I was trying to look at it, zoom in on my phone, and my phone's a piece of crap, so I wasn't getting like the full Monty, if you will. But I cannot wait to get that figure. The Hungry Hippo, because that's how I thought of it also, Matt. I agree with you. I was like, look at this. Like, I had Hungry Hippos when I was younger. Why not have Hungry Godzilla? I'll get it. The bobbleheads, I was like, all right, hit or miss. The Shin Goji SH Monster Art and the Bio Goji SH Monster Art, which had an amazing trailer to it. A trailer that makes me wish that we would get a new Shin Gojira trailer. And there was segue. It sucked, but so what? I want to see more from this movie. Now, yesterday something came out. Anno was on stage and said something to the effect of, it's not really finished, and people went crazy. What do you mean it's not finished? The movie comes out next month. We all know about post-production. Right now, Star Wars is getting hammered, Rogue One, over some post-production issue. Now, the Godzilla fandom is in the uproar for this Shin Godzilla for what the director said. I understand post-production. I went to film school. I'm not a graduate or nothing. I went, but I get the gist of all of that stuff. That being said, though, in this point in time, even if a movie is in post-production, we should have a nice trailer. This close to the movie, we should have some cohesive trailer to show us what is this story about. Now, That being said, and G-Show Land, I'm speculating here. Whether or not Shin Gojira is going to fight another monster, I have no clue. Okay? If he is, do I think it needs to be in the trailer? No. But there needs to be some kind of a trailer coming out now, especially now. It's a month and a couple of weeks away. We had one, beautifully scored trailer, but that was it. I had no idea what the hell the story's about. You see Godzilla looking like a zombie walking through towns and getting shot at by, military, and then a bunch of people. And then at the end, the guy's really pissed off. What's going on in this movie? I don't understand Japanese, but I can get the gist of basic storytelling, which is what we need for a trailer. I just voiced my whole opinion on that. I'm going to go to G95 and ask him, what do you think? Should we have had a new trailer by now? And do you think the post-production, quote-unquote, that Anno had talked about at the Toy Fair is responsible for us not having something?
Well, it's hard to say that the post-production, I guess, lag, if for lack of a better term, is responsible for the lack of new content. But movies do that all the time. You went to film school. I'm a really big movie buff. I'm sure, both Chase and Matt are also super into that kind of thing and filmmaking and all that. So it's, to us, it's normal. Like, we know that movies take a long time to go into post-production. This is a terrible example, but whatever. Ghost Rider. They were still working on that up until I think 2 weeks before it went to theaters. So this is something that happens, and we're all American. We don't know how the film industry in Japan works, so this could be totally normal to push things up until the very end. That being said, I remember when the Attack on Titan movie came out, there was more than just one trailer. Right. We had a couple trailers for that. So this does seem to be a unique case, unless, Attack on Titan is such a big property and such a, I guess, more pop culture-y, like, current property than Godzilla is at the moment. That they maybe pushed out the trailers, like, tried to make it more Americanized, I guess. So maybe this is normal in Japan. But I have no idea. But we do deserve, another trailer, a TV spot, some stills or something, because, like you said, the movie is coming out in a month and a handful of weeks. It's about time we got something new. And that's how you properly promote a movie, is with the trailers. With ads, with TV spots, with stills, with all that stuff.
I agree, and not everybody's into the collectibles, which, don't get me wrong, they're doing a phenomenal job on that end. This has got to be the biggest merchandise blitz I've ever seen from a Godzilla movie. Whether it be in the United States or Japan, this is the biggest blitz. But that's not going to sell the movie. Not to, Joe general public. We are Godzilla fans. We're going to see this movie regardless, but we still need to see something that makes some sense. And again, I just want to point this out. I'm not saying because of the lack of stuff and what Anno had said, the movie's in shambles. I don't believe that for a minute. I'm just saying, because we don't have anything and it's so close, and then he says that, yes, I understand. I know what post-production is. But something to tell the story. Even if it's one shot of Godzilla, but then the rest is some kind of a story with the humans. Because let's be for real here, all that shot. This post-production is definitely working on Godzilla, the model, the special effects. There's no way, nobody can tell me, unless it's in a bad place, which I don't believe, that they have to do these giant reshoots. It's too late. So all that being said, that was just an asterisk aside. I'm going to go to Matt. Matt, what do you think of the news that came out? How do you feel about not seeing something new from Shin Godzilla and hearing all the stuff?
Well, I was talking to Chase about this earlier, but I look at it so where post-production, we obviously know the film is almost done. And there's a difference between having a few scenes left to edit rather than an entire like half of the film. And we all know that half the film is not the case here, because if that were the case, they probably have to push the date back or something like that. What I think is the case is it's been 12 years since the last Godzilla movie. What I'm thinking is they don't want to overproduce the material at the same time. They don't want to like show too little. So maybe that's why they're doing all this like toy thing, stuff like that. But at the same time, I go and look back at different Godzilla movies that they've merchandised over the years, and they are really spoilery when it comes to movies. I remember there was a Godzilla 2014 TV spot I saw, and they just showed the atomic breath right off the bat.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if they're eager or not. That's pretty much all I got, though.
So let me actually, I'm going to go to Chase on this one. Chase, you know your Godzilla stuff. Now, you can go on YouTube and you can YouTube pretty much any Japanese Godzilla trailer for all the movies. And you'll see there's probably several trailers for each flick. Why isn't there another trailer for Shin Gojira this close to release?
To be honest, this has been something that I've been wanting to talk about since me and Matt started messaging back each other months ago. And the point that crossed my mind is with everything being slow, I don't know if they even plan to release a new trailer, to be honest. Now, on Twitter, I read things back and forth that say trailer, this and that, and someone said there's going to be a trailer soon coming out. But, with Twitter, just like anything else, you can't, there's no link, there's no source, so I just put it in the back of my mind. Now, I would hope that we see something new. I mean, even if it's just something, just tell us what the movie's about. But I have thought about that. I don't think they plan to release a new trailer. And I kind of think if they don't do that, and we see this movie, and there's all these surprises in for it, and it becomes a major hit, then that's pretty damn good for them to just do that one thing. But that also concerns me, too, because what if something's going on, and there's a lot of stuff they haven't been telling us, or I don't know. I feel like there should be a new trailer, but I kind of just think that we need to maybe swallow that possibility that we might not get it. We might just come July 29th and have no trailer. But the reason why I think it's if anything, the reason why we don't have another one yet is probably because a few weeks before the movie, or maybe towards the end of June, they're going to give us one more trailer. But maybe that's part of what they're still working on. Maybe they're working on one more trailer in this post-production right now, and it's going to be more revealing. But they released one movie still a few weeks ago, and I posted it to our message chat. But it was just a picture of the scene where the tanks are aiming at Godzilla, and the color is more brighter. Wasn't really anything special, but that was a still from the movie that was going around the internet. So at this point, my guess is as good as anyone else's. My mind goes back and forth.
Let me ask you, because that first trailer didn't sell anything. We know nothing of the story. And again, I can take as much flack as this as people want to throw at me, but that's all right. I'm a big boy. Godzilla is just not that giant of a name the way we in our fandom believe it is God. And then Zilla, you know what I mean? Whereas outside of the fandom, yeah, okay, Godzilla came back in America in 2014. People went to see it. It made some decent cash. But nobody outside of our fandom is paying attention to what Toho's doing. Okay? So let's say Toho wanted to market this and give it like a G2K release theatrically. We have one trailer that makes absolutely no sense. Do you think that that movie's going to make money? They have to drop another trailer. They absolutely need to make a cohesive trailer. G95, do you think I'm telling the truth or am I bugging out?
No, I agree with you. I think they have to do something to sell the story.
Right.
I mean, sure, this is a giant monster movie, but at the core of all Toho Godzilla movies, there's always been a story. And I think with two proficient writers and directors like Hideki Anno and whoever directed the Attack on Titan movie, his name always escapes me. They know how to tell a story, and they are storytellers. So there is definitely a story with this. It's not just going to be Godzilla roaming through the city, blowing up stuff, and tanks shooting at him. So they do need something to sell that, and I don't know. I think we will get something probably within 3 weeks. That's what I'm gonna say it. 3 weeks.
I have mine.
We're gonna get something new.
Yeah, I have mine around the same time. 3 weeks. I think we'll have something.
Yeah, I mean, like on the other side of the pond, here's Rob Zombie's new movie, 31. This movie has been made in the can for about a year now, and it's been shown at a few festivals. Fans have seen it. Critics have seen it. Seen it months and months ago, and still we haven't gotten a trailer. This movie is coming out at the end of August, I believe, or at the beginning of September, and we still haven't gotten a trailer. The trailer for 31 drops, I think, in 2 weeks or so, in a couple weeks, or next week. And, that's a month and a half, 2 months away from the movie coming out. So, stuff like this does happen. I mean, obviously, horror fans know a little bit more about this. Like, Rob Zombie's given clues and stuff as to what the story is about with 31 and all that. And, but I think, he's still been hyping this movie for like a year now. And that's what Toho has been doing. I mean, or at least in our community anyway, the fans, while we haven't gotten any new content, we are still being hyped about it.
Right, I agree. G95, I got to take a step out for a second. I want you to give me 2 seconds. Ask Chase a question. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I got to go handle something real quick. So G95, ask a random question. This happens on G Show sometimes. This just happens.
I want to get back to what Matt said too, because I want to add to that.
Go ahead, add to that.
Okay, so yeah, I agree definitely. I think that by now we should have something new, because exactly, there's a lot of my biggest concern was that since it's been 12 years, really all they're selling, if by far in this movie, is just Godzilla, which is essentially what they want to do. But to what this, with them talking about how they want this film to be the biggest and the revival of the Godzilla franchise on Toho's end, it's a lot of just talk, and that's my concern. Now, I don't have, it's not that I don't think they're going to do it or anything, but it's just right now it's kind of like, it's hard. Who are you convincing? I mean, okay, so you got a good-looking Godzilla, but what are you going to sell us to get us interested into seeing the movie? When are you guys going to put something out that really gets everyone excited? Other than the merchandise being shown, reflect on the movie. Where's more of the, where's more,
Agreed, because the merchandise isn't really selling the story. It's selling Godzilla, not the movie. It's selling Godzilla as an icon or as a product, and not selling the movie as a film or an experience or anything like that.
Can I butt in? That was a great point you made, and I'm sure Chase said something similar. Do you guys think, I'm going to start with Matt with this question, do you guys think that is what is going to bring Japanese into the theater? The Japanese people into the theater? I mean, because I don't know how many young Japanese people are into Godzilla the way, let's say, back in the day in the 70s, it was fun to go, let's go check it out. Like, we could take the kids. You can't take the kids to see Shin Godzilla. So, do you think that the way they are marketing, the way G95 just said, marketing on the name, is that enough, Matt, to bring people into the theater?
I don't think so, because as much as Godzilla is an iconic plot point in Japan, I don't think that a lot of people would go see it regardless. If you just sell it on Godzilla and not have a story, I don't think it's going to do well. Do I think it's going to do well in the United States? No, because I heard all this talk about New World Cinemas trying to get a limited release. And the thing about that is 2014 came out 2 years ago. It's been 2 years already, guys. Let that sink in.
Yep.
And I think the general audience would get confused because they wouldn't know whether this Godzilla was in continuity with the last one, and that was my biggest concern with that. But anyway, I don't really think that focusing on Godzilla would help in any situation, because you need a story, and all you had was music and people talking was metered out, and doesn't help much, because all you know is pretty much Godzilla comes and he gets attacked by the military. That's pretty much it. You don't know who the characters involved. You just know that the military is involved. I don't think that's going to be a good thing. If they don't do anything else, then I think it's not going to end.
I agree. Chase, you had mentioned something about earlier today, the story. No, I'm sorry. It was G95 talking about the screenwriters and the people they have on board to make this movie. They're prolific writers. Now, G95, you spoke to me and you said you love their anime. You love what they've created.
Yep.
Am I mistaken when I say pretty much every Godzilla movie that Toho has created has had a strong theme to it?
I would say so, more or less, yeah.
And here we are missing the theme of this movie. And unless what they're going for is, well, you see how Godzilla looks, there's your theme right there, Nightmare. Now, I want to throw this out there because I remember early in the production, before we saw any images of Godzilla, I think it was Anno who said something, or I don't know if he said it, but I remember reading it through the wire. He was saying basically he has high anxiety with this movie. He was afraid of this movie because of what he had to do with this movie. Do you think that maybe he was telling us the truth and we just buried it because we're like, no, he'll handle it. And then Attack on Titan came out and it wasn't well received. And now he's kind of nervous because, again, it's split down the middle. People like the design, people hate the design.
Well, if I could interrupt for a second.
Go ahead.
The other director, not Hideki Anno, he was the one who did Attack on Titan. Hideki Anno is one who made Evangelion.
Okay.
And as for the whole anxiety kind of fear thing, I think he's just kind of projecting. That's him projecting his own feelings into the movie, as he did with Evangelion. He made the reason he made Evangelion was because he was mentally ill. He was manic depressive. Suffering from a few other mental illnesses, possibly schizophrenia, stuff like that. He wrote it as an escape for it, or as a way to kind of filter out that, or his push his feelings into something creative, and that might have been what he was doing with this. He's a very passionate man, so I assume that's he's putting his full self into Shin Godzilla.
I got you. Oh wow. Reverb. Okay, so I got what you're saying. Basically, you know how he feels, what he was dealing with personally, went through that. But that was his creation. This is not. Do you think it would work? Do you think he might be thinking it's working or not working, or do you think as a director? Because like I said, man, I went to film school, but it really wasn't nothing crazy. I am not making movies. I have, I have passion for it, but I'm not doing anything about it. But do you think as a director, he might, with his statements being said, he might be feeling too much pressure to bring this to life, to take this beloved character and literally turn it on its head? There's only one person to ever do that, and now his name is Roland Emmerich. So, yeah, honestly. So, like, how would you think? I guess what I'm asking is, do you think he has control over this production?
Well, I'll make my answer quick, and then I gotta get going.
No problem.
But I think he does. It's a big property to take on. It's it would be big for anybody to take on. I'm sure making 2014 was no walk in the park for Gareth Edwards.
You've seen he dropped
especially
out.
With the development hell it was going through before the camera even started rolling. But he's a very creative person. He's got his very specific ideas, and he's got a co-director with a very similar mindset as him, and co-writer, I believe, too, backing him up. I think he's. I can't speak for him or his co-director, whose name none of us seem to know. Bad research on our part.
Yeah, terrible.
But it would be a big undertaking for anybody. But I think they know what they're doing.
All right, well.
And with that, I've got to get going.
Thank you, G95, for joining us on this abridged version of you.
Of course.
And
Chase, good to see you again.
Good stuff, Matt.
Nice meeting you.
Later.
And we'll get you on the next one, brother. See you next week.
Yep, see you guys.
Be safe, bud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, G95 had to leave us, but the show does go on. I am still here with Megalon, a.k.a. Chase, and Matt, version 2. So let's get down to this, because, Matt, you're new, and you can ask Chase. I ask this to every newbie that jumps on the G Show. What are your thoughts on Shin Godzilla? The trailer, the look of the monster, your personal feelings. What went through your head when you saw that trailer for the first time? Everything. Well, let us know.
Well, when I first saw the face reveal, with that one poster with him looking to the side, and it was kind of dark, and everyone started complaining. There were a side where they loved it, and then there was a side where everyone was nitpicking on the eyes, the arms, the teeth, the way the snout looked. It does look a little pressed in, I will admit that, but it looks cool. But I think it looks great. Now that I look more at it, I thought it was like a carbon copy of the 54 suit, but it really isn't. If you compare the suits, they look similar, but the 54 suit has a more, now obviously it looks more like one of the puppets that was used, but the suit itself has a more slender look to the face. And the eyes are obviously the same, but I like the new, like, ragged, ravaged look to the suit. It looks like it has a more emotional, damaged, psychological look to it that World War II had on Japan. So I like how it personifies the threat of nuclear warfare more than 54 did, pretty much, to me.
Oh, man. You know what? That's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. Chase, I already heard what you had to say. I know you loved it. The look is growing on me. I'm still not 100% convinced. I have to see the movie. I want to see why. That was one of the biggest things I've said, like the initial podcast that me and G95 did when we started this. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of I hate it. I'm not one of those fanboys that are just like, this movie's going to suck because the suit looks stupid. The look is dumb. No. I guess because of my age, I'm more like, all right, it's completely different. I'm not buying it, but I want to see why this suit came to be. There's a reason. Godzilla just don't come out of the ocean and look like a zombie. So something happens in this movie. I need to see that, and I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to explore that and experience it for myself, because who knows? If done right, this might be my favorite suit of all time. The look right now, I'm not digging it, but it might just be because of the story. And I guess that was pretty much the theme of today's podcast, is we don't have anything to go by story for Shin Godzilla, and it's nerve-wracking because we're so close. They don't have to show a trailer. They don't. They could drop a plot synopsis, and like I said before, whether or not there's monsters other than Godzilla in this, they don't have to include that. They don't. Chase, I think it was, last week? Over the weekend, there was or was it 2 weeks ago, where there was some kind of a plot description.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago, right? With like boats, and it kind of like brought me back to the original 54, the very beginning, when the boat, they're all hanging out, and then boom, it goes down. But something about a submarine too, if I'm not mistaken. Was there?
Yeah, that so far hasn't been confirmed if it's legit or not legit, because everywhere you try to go, we don't know yet if it's true or not. But yeah, it was basically, they were just talking about the beginning of 1954 and how through the rest of this movie they were going to give out nostalgia points that are kind of modernized. So like in 1954, when he steps into the field and all of those cannons are shooting at him in 1954, and the next one that we see, when all the tanks are shooting at him, that's supposed to be like the nostalgia point of 1954. So they were just giving like little snippets of that. Like, that's what they were saying. But yeah, we don't know for sure if that's true or not. But so far, the Korean poster, because this was the Korean trailer, it so far hasn't had any what are they? It's been so far legitimate.
Okay.
But who knows?
I hear. Matt, your anticipation levels for the movie?
I'm really excited for it. The whole monster thing, I'm kind of conflicted on that, because for one thing, I think they could take advantage of this and bring Godzilla back to why he was originally created, no other interruptions. But the other one, part of me wants to see this Godzilla in action, because he obviously can't use those hands in fighting. It's got to be either his mouth, his tail, or his breath. And I've seen leaked scripts where they describe his tail to be the main part of this Godzilla's style, and how he just pretty much relies on that. And I could see that happening. I mean, I think it's like twice as long as any other Godzilla tail. But I'm just really conflicted about him being solo or fighting another monster.
Yeah, for my personal opinions, if he's gonna fight any other monster, it needs to be another Godzilla, and because that is what I want to see. Honest to God, I honestly thought that G14 was gonna be that. I thought there was gonna be a scene in G14. This is before any of the plot details came out, and I stayed away from all that stuff because I wanted to go in and be surprised. I thought it was going to be one of those movies where it's just Godzilla on a rampage. And then at the end of the movie, not that he would fight another Godzilla, there would be more Godzillas at the end of the movie. And I thought it was going to be like humanity taking a step back on, we're doomed. So, of course, that's not what we got. We got something completely different. I loved what we got, again, but that's another podcast. So that's something I'm still holding out hope for. A time when we can see Godzilla versus Godzilla, and I'm not talking about Final Wars, and I'm not talking about Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster or Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 1, however you want to say it. A legit Godzilla versus a legit Godzilla. Whether one is zombified and the other one is normal, so be it. I will totally buy it,
And
eat it up.
That's what I wanted to add too. Another thing that I have been kind of nitpicking at was that Toho has such, faith in this being the true Godzilla movie, but it can't be a true Godzilla movie if he doesn't fight something. You can say what you want, but he made a reputation of fighting monsters.
I have to disagree, but go ahead.
I don't know. I feel the reputation of him. I mean, we know he can take out the military, no problem. But show us something that can go against him. Prove to us that he is the Godzilla, the Shin Godzilla. Do something.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Toho running off at the mouth. This is the true Godzilla. And you're saying it can't be a true Godzilla unless he's fighting something. And I get your point. I get what you're saying. 98%, 99% of Godzilla movies, it's Godzilla fighting another monster.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, could Toho go, instead of fighting another monster, fighting his degeneration? Because let's be for real here, this look is insane. It doesn't look like he's getting better. It looks like he's getting worse. Could maybe that be the struggle? And for the first time, we see Godzilla struggle with just living. I mean, as crazy a concept as that sounds, and people probably type G1 again, you're going crazy. Could that be the fight? Could we get a Godzilla characterization where we actually feel bad for this scary-looking monster? Because let's be real, we all love Godzilla because it's Godzilla. We don't love the characters. We don't love Shirazawa. I mean, we like the characters, don't get me wrong, but we watch it for Godzilla. Let's be for real.
Yeah.
Instead of him fighting something, could it be like a metaphor for fighting another creature? Him fighting, instead of regenerating, he's degenerating. Something happened and he's going to die. I think that's what made 95 Destroyer such a success. I love that movie. Not that he fought the Oxygen Destroyer incarnate, but that he was going through meltdown. Basically, he was in pain. This animal was dying, and I think maybe Shin Godzilla, True Godzilla, whatever Toho's game is, we don't know.
Do you think though that plot though might be a little bit too reminiscent of Burning Godzilla, with him melting down?
No, because we had Junior and Destroyer. There were two things thrown into that mix. This is, as of right now, we only know of one thing: Godzilla. That's it. There's
okay.
Nothing,
I get what you're saying.
So, and the look of Godzilla, he's struggling. He's not fighting. He's struggling. That is a struggling creature because of the suit, the way it looks. It is let's be real here. I burn my hand. I struggle to touch anything. Godzilla looks like he's legitly falling apart. Not melting down, but is in such a bad way. He's struggling to survive. And as G95 pointed out before he left, these guys, the director, when he did Evangelion or Evangeline, like Matt said, because that's usually how I would say it, his turmoil, his personal struggles made it to the anime. Could it be the same for Shin Godzilla? And that was my question. If that was the case, does Godzilla benefit from that? Can Godzilla benefit from that? Or is Godzilla just too big of a spotlight marquee name that it's kind of like, I don't know what they were going, let's make another movie and bring it back to the classic stuff.
So where would you stand on the regeneration then, if it's the degeneration of him that's the struggle?
Well, again, that's why I'm like missing out with another trailer. I would love to see another trailer because I want to see, again, I don't know Japanese, but I understand how things are put together. I would love to see some sort of cohesive story. You could tell a story without any dialogue, and so I can watch that trailer on mute, and if it's showing me some images, I can pretty much follow along and piece it together. the degeneration thing, it's interesting. It's something that's never been done before. One, Godzilla we always look at as indestructible. I don't know. I buy it. I don't know. Matt, what about you, brother? I'm gonna jump to you. You've been quiet, and you're the new guy.
Well, let me answer your question with another question. If you had to choose the opponent for Godzilla to fight in this movie, would you choose a monster from way back, or would you want a new one? Because the tradition with all the Godzilla movies that start with a new series is you always fight something new. You know, it's with Anguirus, the Showa series, Biollante with the Heisei, Orga in the Millennium, and now the Mutos in the Legendary. So, do you think do they have the balls to make something new, like we've never seen before, to match the revolting look of this Godzilla? Or is it going to be something that we've seen before?
Well, I think that's a great question, actually. Biollante and Anguirus. Anguirus to me is the number one creature because it's been around for so long.
I think so.
Biollante is the fans love it. I love I think the movie personally is overrated. I love that movie. I think it's a little bit overrated. But I do love that movie. The Heisei series is my favorite. See, I said Heisei this week, right? Last week I said Hesi. This week I say Heisei, right? See how it flips? That's my favorite series. Biollante is a fan favorite. Orga's not. Even though Biollante never showed up again, Biolante's in more video games than Orga is. You know what I'm saying? It's a fan favorite. Orga didn't catch. Megaguirus didn't catch. Kiru caught. GMK was a rehash. And then Final Wars was everything. Destroyer is a mainstay in Space Godzilla, and I'll tell you why. Wow, that's the second time Godzilla fought a Godzilla. The first time, I should say. Space Godzilla was just, oh shit, even though it was Super Godzilla, if anybody's ever played the Super Nintendo Super Godzilla, it was Super Godzilla, but they was like, let's change it up, we'll make it Space Godzilla, we'll make the costume gorgeous. The movie's rather forgettable. I like it, but it is, it's forgettable. And Destroyer, what I loved about that was it was the oxygen destroyer bringing these Precambrian life forms back, turn it into this big thing. So I didn't answer any bit of your question with that one. Let me say no. I don't want to see a new monster, but if they do any monster, I want to see another Godzilla. That's what I want. If they are going to revamp it, I just got to throw this out there. I don't know if Biollante was the start of the new series. I believe it was Godzilla 1985. And he was solo. And that's why I think this one could possibly be a solo act too, because 85 is beloved through the fandom. And he didn't fight anything. The Super X, which was freaking awesome.
I was going to say that, Super X.
But that was a military machine, and I love Super X 1. I love that thing. But if they are going to bring in a monster for Godzilla to fight, I would love to see another Godzilla. I really would. I would love to see another Godzilla. Absolutely love to see that.
The only monster that I can think of that they could bring back that I have to bring back Anguirus at some point, because that's his first opponent, and that's what skyrocketed Godzilla to be a fighter in the first place, let's be honest here. And no matter how many times Anguirus got his ass kicked in a fight, he just kept on coming back. And I just think that he really needs to come back, because he was I'm pretty sure you both know this, but GMK was originally going to have Varan, however you pronounce that, and Anguirus, and it makes me mad Mothra and Ghidorah were chosen over them, because that could have been their time to shine in the Millennium series.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've said this before on the podcast. I've said this a million times on my Facebook page. That's the G Show. If you don't know, you'd be watching this podcast and you don't know that I do the G Show. Come on now. The Gamera Heisei trilogy is some of the most greatest kaiju movies ever made. Gamera 3, for me, is just upper echelon. I mean, I love 1954 Gojira. I love Godzilla 1985. I am saying, though, as far as a modern kaiju movie, Gamera 3 has it all. I love the story, and the special effects are, to this, with the exception of G14, untouched in any other Toho-produced Godzilla movie, and that's what bothered me about GMK. The fact that you get the guy who just made the greatest Gamera movies of all time, and then stifle him by saying, no, you got to put in recognizable names. It hurts. It hurts what the director wants to do. It hurts the vision. I would have loved to see Varon again. That's one of my favorite kaijus outside of Godzilla. And Anguillus, I would have loved to see that because you brought up a great point. It was his first fight. It was also Godzilla's most ferocious fight. You look at all the Godzilla movies since Godzilla Raids Again. There has not been a more ferocious fight scene since Godzilla vs. Anguillus, 1955.
Yeah.
Watch that. That is I love that fight. A lot of people don't like that movie, but that fight is the most vicious and ferocious. It is the most feral. It legitimately looks like two animals going at each other. Anything else after that, especially in the Hesai, which I love, is Beam Wars. I get it. Nothing ever comes close to that. I love that fight scene. But man, you know what? You could be on this podcast anytime you want. Seriously.
The only other fight I think that's most ferocious is his fight with the Mutos. That was mainly physical. And even though he was pretty much dominating each one of them single-handedly, right when they double-teamed him, it got pretty nasty. You could see blood squirting out. There's a part where he choke slams the female when they first clash. You could see her coughing up blood right when they clash. It's kind of hard to see because it's nighttime.
Right.
And the lighting in the scene is pretty awful. But yeah, you could see like blood coming out a lot in that fight.
Well,
not as nasty as Raids Again,
but you got to look at it like this too. That was also big budget Hollywood special effects, as opposed to, geez, what do you think it costs to make Godzilla Raids Again? Maybe $100,000, maybe $100,000. You know, and what they were able to pull off with men in suits is still to this day, like, it's remarkable. That's just my personal opinion. I think that's, for me, one of the greatest monster fight scenes put on screen in a Godzilla movie. But I do agree with you. G14, that was legit vicious. I loved it. But it was also a lot of CG. They had the budget to do that. But listen, man, we're going to wrap this up. Chase.
What's up?
You got any final thoughts on anything you want to say about what we talked about today?
Yeah, no,
Chase?
What's up?
You didn't answer the question I asked, like, if you had to choose a new monster or an old one.
Definitely not an old one. That it was funny when, if you mentioned another Godzilla, it just brings me back to the thought of, what if this zombified Godzilla we're seeing isn't technically the Godzilla we're going to end up really getting? What if they have, the Godzilla we all know and are familiar with pop up and, kick its ass? But if I really had to choose, it would be, I don't know, I would just like to see something new, just because I like seeing Godzilla take on everything. So a new idea, new creature would be cool. But I also wanted to add, the fight with Anguirus, when he bites Anguirus by the neck and, I think rips his throat out almost. That part, that was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So, some of the best puppeteering in Godzilla movie right there.
Yeah. So, I would just go with a new creature. If not a new creature, I don't know. I would like to see, the idea of two Godzillas going at it, would be cool, especially in a Toho film. Who knows with this movie what's going to happen? I mean, maybe we'll know in a few weeks. Maybe we'll know tomorrow. Who knows? I mean, I find stuff at 3 a.m. in the morning, so who knows?
I just want to throw a quick insert here. This is pre-recorded, so we're recording this on Thursday night for Friday morning, Friday afternoon, depending on your time zone. So if something does come out 3 a.m. Friday, it's not going to make this cut. So if there's a trailer, if there is a trailer, we might have to do an impromptu Godzilla block party on Saturday.
Yeah, boy, and do it live.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it live. Matt, man, anything you want to add, man? Final thoughts, brother.
No, I'm pretty good. It was a good ride.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast. Again, I do this every week. Matt, you're more than welcome to join us anytime you want. Chase, you already know you're here all the time.
Yeah.
G95, I salute you, my brother, wherever you may be right now, where your ventures are taking you. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for the best damn Godzilla podcast I've ever been on, because it is the only damn Godzilla podcast I've ever been on. This is the Godzilla Block Party. I am G1. This is the G Show. Peace.
Woo!